Magandang gabi mga kapwa kong Marino. Ngayong gabi ang pag-usapan natin ay ang paggawa ng freshwater sa barko. Ano ang ibig sabihin ng freshwater generator? At kung ano ang kanyang mga working principle at saka procedure of operation, yan ang pag-usapan natin ngayong gabi para pag nandoon na kayo sa barko, hindi kayo malito o kung halimbawa mag-apply ma kayo ng trabaho, may mga question kung paano kayo mag-operate ng freshwater generator. So meron na kayo idea. So in this episode, I am going to discuss about the equipment called the freshwater generator, which is used on board to produce freshwater on ship. We will discuss its working principle, its type, how to operate, and its troubleshooting. Alam mo, sa barko, normal yan na ang konsumo ng mga tao sa barko ay 100 liters a day. So kung asahan mo lang ang pagbili ng tubig bawat dating ng barko sa puerto, medyo gastos ang may-ari ng barko. Pero kung gumawa ang mga marino ng tubig sa barko through freshwater generator or by the use of freshwater generator, so yung tubig dagat, i-convert yan sa freshwater generator at yan nagagamitin sa paligo, sa boiler, sa cooling water ng main engine o generator, at pwede rin inumin kung kailangan. Now, in this article, we will learn what is freshwater generator. Now, how pure water is produced on board the ship, the type, the distillation system, the part, trimester, working principle of freshwater generator working principle, how it works, its plate type, tube type, safety, how vacuum is created in freshwater generator, why losses of vacuum in freshwater generator would also affect its operation, its fault, freshwater generator starting procedure. So dito sa topiko na ito, dito natin ngayon ma-discuss ang tinatawag na Boyle's Law. So kung walang hangin, o diba, ang vacuum ay 95% or 90%. So ibig sabihin walang hangin, ang boiling point ng tubig diyan bababa. So normally at atmospheric pressure, ang boiling point of water is 100 degrees centigrade or 100 degrees Celsius. Ngunit pag ang sa enclosed space, let's say for example ang vacuum is 85 to 95%, ang tubig dyan ay at 60 degrees ay kumukulo. So, yan ang advantage kung ang vacuum mo mataas kasi ang boiling point ng tubig ay bababa. 60 degrees, boil na ang tubig. Now, the freshwater generator is a device on a ship for production of freshwater from seawater for domestic and auxiliary function, which is a vital demand on board a ship. A considerable quantity of water is consumed in a ship. The crew consume an average of 100 liters per day. In a steamship, a ship whose main propulsion unit is a turbine, or a ship is called a giant tanker or supertanker, or BLCC, very large crude oil carrier. They are driven by turbine, and the boiler consumption may as high as 30 tons per day. So, yan ang mababa. Pero may nasakyan akong barko na our consumption is 60 tons a day. So, kung halimbawa ang production ng tubig ng freshwater ay mahina, ay kukulangin ang tubig mo bago ka makarating sa puerto. So, this equipment used on board to generate freshwater from seawater is known as freshwater generator. So, it is used to produce freshwater on board for drinking, cooking, washing, etc. Now, ang katanungan doon, how pure water is produced on board ship? So, pure water can be produced on a ship, generally using two principles or methods. It is either by distillation or reverse osmosis. So, reverse osmosis is normally used in passenger which where large quantity of water is consumed. Here I am trying to illustrate the working principle of freshwater generator that works on the basis of distillation principle that is very common on cargo ships. So in distillation system, the freshwater from sea on ship is produced mainly by distillation process. So magtanong kayo, what is distillation? So distillation is a method of production of pure water from sea by evaporating and recondensing. So distilled water is made as a result of evaporating ocean water either by boiling or flash processes. This evaporation enables the reduction of 3,200 ppm or part per million of dissolved solid in seawater down to 1 to 2% distilled water. So what is the boiling process? So this type of evaporator boils seawater as a saturation temperature corresponding to evaporator pressure and is known as boiling evaporator. So in boiling evaporator, water is maintained continuously and its saturation temperature, in other words, latent heat is added. So while in the flash evaporator, sensitive heat is applied. Submerged tube type boiling evaporator or tube type, or boiling process evaporator, or also known as low pressure evaporator, which is you can see that one in the alpha Laval or plate type evaporator. So this type of generator discusses below in details the flash point or flash evaporator. This type of evaporator heat the water in one compartment before it is released into the second compartment, in which the pressure is substantially lower, causing some of the water to flash into vapor. So this type of evaporator is known as flash evaporator. So in flash evaporator, sensitive heat is supplied. Now that they have types and classification of that evaporator, and the working principle is classified into distillate type and reverse osmosis. So is in distillation process, distillation is cheaper and efficient for less quantity. But the reverse osmosis is expensive and used for production in a large quantity. So reverse osmosis, or RO for short, is used on a passenger ship where large amount of water is consumed. So this is the process. Distillation is equals to evaporation plus condensation, while the reverse osmosis, semi-permeable membrane minus filter. So na-filter niya is reverse osmosis. Now, in distillate type is again classified based on the evaporator and condenser structure, and that is to say plate type or tube type freshwater generator. So in tube type, also known as the submerged type, because the steam coil are submerged, and sometimes it is known as the boiling freshwater generator. Main or various type of freshwater generator which are used on the ships were submerged tube type, the plate type, and the reverse osmosis plant. As I said earlier, the reverse osmosis are used mostly in passenger ship dahil marami ang tao doon at ang reverse osmosis na evaporator makaproduce ng tubig ng maramihan. So the main body of freshwater generator on the ship consists of heat exchanger, distillate pump, ejector pump, air brine eductor, salinometer, demister, or separator. So, ano sabi mo ang kaya ang heat exchanger? So, condenser is known as heat exchanger. So, once the water is condensed, it will evaporate. Once the water is heated, it will evaporate, and that evaporation will kagaya magsaing ka, no? Pag nagsaing ka doon sa takip ng kaldero mo, may tubig doon na makikita mo na doon sa takip ng kaldero may tubig doon na nakabuo-buo lang. Now, pag dinaanan ng seawater yan, ng malamig, mahulog yung tubig niyan, doon mahulog sa demister. So, ang tubig na yan, ang dagat na yan na buwel, na nagkaroon ng doon sa takip ng, kumbaga sa kaldero, doon sa demister, doon sa kaldero, sa takip ng kaldero, buo-buo siya, pag dinaanan ng tubig na malamig yan, mahulog yan. So, fresh water na yan. So, yan ang principle ng evaporator. So, ang distillate pump naman, yung naipon na tubig doon na naging fresh water na, bombahin naman ang distillate pump yan, papuntang tangke. So, magtanong kayo, ano naman itong ejector pump? So, ang ejector pump, ganito yan. Sa pagsimula mo na pandar ng freshwater generator, pandarin mo itong ejector pump. Ang purpose ng ejector pump is to produce vacuum. So, buksan mo muna ang suction valve ng ejector pump at saka overboard valve, then pandarin mo ang ejector pump. So, pinandar mo na ngayon ang ejector pump, magsimula na yan mag-vacuum. So, once the vacuum reaches, let's say, for example, 80 or 90%, pwede ka na ngayon mapansin mo yan, kumukulo na doon ng tubig sa heat exchanger. Pero ang tubig na nag-heat up doon ay 60 degrees or 65 degrees lang. Galing yan sa discharge ng makina sa main engine. So doon mo makita na bakit nagbuwel sa 60 degrees. Nagbuwel siya doon, alam mo kung bakit? Walang hangin doon sa loob. May vacuum. So ibig sabihin sa 90% ang vacuum, ang 10% lang doon ang hangin at saka 90% ay wala. Kaya nagainit, nabuwel siya at 60 degrees centigrade. So ito naman ang salinometer. Ang salinometer, yan ang nag-measure ng alat ng nagawa na tubig. So ang normal na tubig na maaari inumin ay below 15 degrees or below 15 ppm or part per million. So sa nabanggit ko kanina, itong dimester, yan ang naipunan ng nagawa mo ng fresh water out of seawater, dyan sa dimester siya maipon. At pag naipon na dyan, sipsipin ito ngayon ng distillate pump papunta na sa tangke. So maliwanag. Now here, the heat exchanger. Evaporator, it is used to boil off the seawater at the low temperature with the help of vacuum created inside the freshwater generator shell. The condenser is used to cool down the condensed steam to achieve distilled water. So ang maganda lang dito sa freshwater generator nito, alam mo kung bakit? Ang ma-produce mo yan distilled, pwede mo yan ilagay sa battery kung nakailangan. Pero basta maganda ang pag-produce mo kasi distilled na siya. So ang distillate pump naman is used to supply, sa nabanggit ko kanina, naging Tagalog ko, it is used to supply generated fresh water to the ship's water tank by taking the suction from the fresh water generator. So na-produce na fresh water na ipon doon sa dimester at to sipsipin ng fresh water pump or distillate pump. At saka ito naman ang ejector pump. As I said earlier, it is used to supply pressurized water to the inductor for creating vacuum. It also supplies cool water to condense to cool down the freshwater vapor. Now, ito tandaan nyo. Kung pag nag-apply kayo, may mga, noong ako nag-interview ako noon, natanong ko ang, let's say, mga fourth engineer, third engineer, tinatanong ko, what is the proper and correct procedure of starting freshwater generator? So, ang sagot nila sa akin, number one, iangat mo ang vacuum. So sabi ko mali yan dahil ang tanong ko, what is the proper and correct procedure of starting freshwater generator? How could you raise the vacuum if you failed to start the ejector pump? So ang proper na sagot doon ay first, open the suction valve. Dahil pag pinandar mo ejector pump, pag sarado ang suction, hindi mo wala siyang tubig na masipsip. Then pagbukas mo ng suction valve, buksan mo rin doon ang overboard valve para ang tubig makalabas. So pagbukas mo, saka ka mo pandar ng ejector mo. So pag napandar mo na ejector mo, obserbahan mo ngayon kung tumataas ang vacuum. So kung tumataas ng vacuum, saka ngayon, halimbawa 90% na, saka ngayon magbukas ng feed water papunta doon sa condenser. Para ang feed mo na yon ay ang mabuwel at gagawa ng kumbaga sa nabanggit ko kanina, pag nagsaing ka ay yung kumukulo na seawater, iipon yan doon sa dimester at pag dumaan naman ulit ang cooling water, mahulog yan at yan ang sipsipin ng distillate pump. Now dito naman sa air brine inductor, it is used to remove accumulated brine and salt deposit from the generator and create necessary vacuum. As I said earlier, the salinometer, it is connected to the distillate pump just before the solenoid operated three-way valve, and it is used to measure the part per million of fresh water produced, which is generally 1 to 2 ppm. Now, therefore, the supposed to be the fresh water produced by the freshwater generator should not exceed 15 ppm. Dahil kung maglampas, magkaroon kung gamitin mo sa boiler mo, that will create corrosion in the tubings of the boiler as well as the tubings of the heat exchanger of freshwater cooling system for the main engine and generator. Now, the salinometer work on the simple principle that pure water does not conduct electricity, and its conductivity increases with increased dissolved impurities and salt. Now, you will ask, what is dimester in a freshwater generator? So, dimester is used to separate seawater droplets from the steam vapor. A dimester is a thickened layer of mist structure fitted in between the evaporator and the condenser element. And the dimester can be made of nickel, monel, metal, copper, stainless steel, and synthetic fibers such as polypropylene and PVC. Typically, dimester made of monel metal are used for the generation of fresh water. Now, when the water evaporates, it carry over some fine little molecule of water along with the rising steam. When the source of such water is sea, it can considerably increase the salinity of output water. So to maintain the salinity as low as 5 to 15 ppm, we use demister which restrict the passage of mist and pass dry the steam. So how freshwater generator works? Now here is the working principle. The basic principle of all low pressure freshwater generator is that the boiling point of water can be reduced by reducing the pressure of the surrounding atmosphere. Water can be boiled at low temperature by maintaining the low pressure, let's say 50 degrees Celsius, and the heat source for the freshwater generator could be waste heat rejected by main engine jacket cooling water. Now, hence, the boiling can take place at about 40 to 60 degrees centigrade or Celsius by using energy from the heating coil and by reducing pressure in the evaporator shell. So this type of single effect plant is designed to produce a better economy than obsolete boiling evaporator. Kaya alam mo, ito ang binabanggit ko noon doon sa Memindula. Kasi ang problema natin ay tubig. Kuminsan pag dry season, nasasambot ang ating tubig. So kulang ang consumption ng mga tao sa tubig. So what I explained to Malacanang ay kung magkaroon tayo ng freshwater generator that will be installed more or less 200 miles from the nearest land. So doon gagawa ng tubig at ipunin doon sa isang malaking barge at doon sa ang na-produce ng tubig doon sa may malaking barge, iangat yan doon, let's say for example mga 50 feet no, ang taas. Then pagbagsak niyan, babagsak ang tubig na yan doon sa may impeller ng dynamo, magkaroon naman siya ng production ng kuryente. So sa madaling salita, habang nag-produce tayo ng fresh water, may kuryente ka rin na ma-produce. So kung tuloy-tuloy na production ng kuryente, wala ka nang intindihin pa na mag-operate ng kung ano-ano ng mga electrical equipment dahil ang kuryente mismo na yan naging produce mo, yan din ang magamit mo sa pag-supply sa kuryente na pangangailangan mo. So sa madaling salita, kung mayroon tayong ganyan, ang konsumo na tubig at kuryente ng taong bayan ay libre. Kasi magkano na lang ang maintenance mo dyan. Kung ang ginawa mo, ang tubig sa dagat, ginawa mo fresh water, so sa madaling salita, tulad ng sa Saudi Arabia, wala silang ulan doon. Pero marami silang tubig doon dahil fresh water generator ang ginagamit nila. So kung nagamit din doon sa Saudi Arabia, kaya nag-operate ay mga Pilipino, bakit din natin magamit ito sa ating bansa at pakinabangan ng mga kapwa nating Pilipino? So yan ay na-explain ko sa Malacanang, pero it is almost 2 years, may gitna. Kaya pinadala ko rin yan doon kay Secretary Tugade. Hanggang ngayon, wala silang aksyon kung paano nila gampanan ang mga bagay na yan para mapakinabangan ng taong bayan. So ganoon din ito sa kuryente na nabanggit ko, kung ang fresh water na nagawa ng fresh water generator na naipon doon sa malaking tangke sa dagat, kung may bomba na magbomba mga 50 feet, let's say for example, ang taas ng tubig, pag bagsak noon doon sa may impeller na dynamo, iikot ngayon ang dynamo. Pag ikot ng dynamo, magkaroon na ng kuryente. So malaki sana ang pakinabang ng mga bagay na yan kung ginagawa natin yan. Now, sabi natin, okay, dapat malaki yan kung gamitan natin sa nasyonal. Kung hindi gamitin natin ngayon sa mga probinsya, bawat probinsya kung mayroong fresh water generator, meron na silang tubig, meron na rin silang kuryente. So sa madaling salita, kung bilyon-bilyon ang ginagamit natin, bakit hindi natin magamitan ng ganyan? Mura lang yan kung tutusin. Kasi ang barko, kung lalo ko reverse osmosis ang gamitin mo sa barko, ilan ang pasahero ng barko? Let's say for example, ang pasahero niya ay 1,000. So kung isang bayan na yan, supplyan mo lang ng 1,000 lang ang magamit ng tubig, sobra na sila. At maliban sa may tubig na sila, may kuryente pa. So yan sana ang maganda. Pero ewan ko kailan mangyayari yan. Pero may balita ako ngayon na may isang oligarko ngayon na gumagawa niyan. At pag matapos nila gawa yan, ibenta nila ngayon sa mga Pilipino. So dapat kung gobyerno ang gumawa niyan, ang taong bayan sana hindi maghirap. Kaya yan ang kaya naisip ko yan i-explain na itong fresh water generator dahil malaki ang tulong nito kung gawin natin ito dito sa atin. Kasi yan sabi ko doon sa mga Middle East countries, wala silang tubig doon pero sufficient sila sa tubig because of fresh water generator. At ang nag-operate doon mostly mga Pilipino. So sana mapakinabangan natin ang ating mga abilidad kung dito natin sa ating bayan ginamit yan. Now, in the plate type fresh water generator or alpha-labal type, its working principle is if the condenser and evaporator hit the exchanger of the fresh water generator and is composed of plate, then the type of fresh water generator is called plate type fresh water generator. So the main component are condenser, evaporator, heat exchanger, brine air ejector, seawater pump, distillate pump, salinometer, dimester, water flow meter. Now, ito naman dito sa may plate type na ito. Pag nag-overhaul ka nito, napakasilang. Alam mo kung bakit sabi ko napakasilang? Bago mo buksan yan, kailangan ma-measure mo kung gaano ang haba ng tornilyo na nahigpitan na yon. At kung magbalik ka, dapat ibalik mo rin. Now, pangalawa, doon sa mga plate na yon, may mga butas-butas. Oras na nagkamali ang pagbalik mo dyan, hindi ka na makaproduce ng tubig. Kasi kung ang halimbawa, ang inlet ay natakpan mo, ginawaan mo ng outlet, hindi na siya makalabas. So kailangan kung mag-overhaul yan o kung mag-cleaning, masilang, dapat mamarkahan mo kung hindi ka gaano ka eksperto sa plate type na yan na fresh water generator. Now, kung hindi ka gaano ka eksperto, markahan mo para pagbalik mo, hindi ka mahirapan. Now, below you could see the diagram of plate type fresh water generator. Ganito yan. Ang binabanggit ko na tornilyo, dito yan. Pag hinigpitan mo ang tornilyo dito, itong buo ng plate type, no? Kailangan malaman mo kung gaano kahaba ang tornilyo. Para pagbalik mo naman, sigurado ka na maibalik mo sa tama. Pero kung halimbawa hindi mo nasukat ang haba ng tornilyo at kusa mo lang pinuksan, pagbalik mo ulit ngayon ay kulang o hindi nasobrahan, ang production mo dyan magkaiba na. Hindi na magbalik sa dati. So kaya napaka-importante ito i-discuss din kasi marami ang mga ibang mga marino na doon na sa barko pero hindi nakaranas mag-overhaul na ito. So kung pina-overhaul sa kanya ni chief engineer tapos si chief engineer wala dyan, so napaka-importante bago mo tanggalin ang tornilyo, sukatin mo muna. Bago mo tanggalin ang nut, sukatin mo muna kung gaano kahaba ang bolt ng mahigpit ang nut na yan. Bago mo buksan ang nut, sukatin mo kung gaano kahaba ang bolt. Para pagbalik mo ngayon, ganun din ang pagbalik mo. Kung gaano kahaba, ganun din pagbalik mo. Huwag yung higpitan mo sobra kasi pag higpitan mo sobra, baka magkaroon na ng problema ang paggawa mo ng tubig. So siguro maliwanag yan. Pero kung may mga katanungan man kayo, no, so pwede kayo magtanong, pwede nyo ilagay sa chat message o kung halimbawa doon sa messenger ko, pwede nyo itanong. At least magtulong-tulong tayo para na ang kinabukasan ng ating mga marino ay mapaganda natin. At ang mga tao na kanyang mga mahal sa buhay na nag-aasa doon sa kanyang kikitain sa barko ay masayahan din. Now, dito sa plate type o sa labal type, the freshwater generator use heat from main engine jacket cooling system, which open cooling the engine passes through the evaporator to evaporate the seawater feed into it. But the jacket cooling water temperature available is about 70 to 80 degrees Celsius, whereas boiling point of water is 100 degrees Celsius at atmospheric pressure. So yan ang banggit ko kanina na kung halimbawa within the atmospheric pressure, boiling point of water is 100 degrees centigrade. Pero at enclosed space, when the vacuum is 90%, you can boil the water at 60 degrees or even 50 degrees. The water could be boiled. So in order to evaporate the seawater at 70 degrees Celsius, we need to reduce the pressure. So less, sabi ni Boyle's law, less pressure is less temperature. So kung walang pressure doon, ang temperature niya ay bababa rin. So this is done by creating vacuum inside the chamber and the seawater get evaporated below 100 degrees centigrade and also vacuum help to evaporate easily. So this vacuum is created by air or brine ejector. Now, the evaporated seawater passes through the demister, which scrub off seawater droplets from the water vapor. So unevaporated water particle is discharged as brine by means of combined air or brine ejector. Now this vapor passes through the condenser, which condenses the vapor and get collected at the bottom, which is transferred to freshwater tank, where it is passed through the salinometer and controlled by three-way solenoid. Bakit may three-way solenoid? Because once it passes the salinometer, let's say for example, the product water is more than 15 part per million or 15 ppm. So the three-way valve will open at hindi yan papasok doon sa tangke kung lumampas sa 15 ppm ang setting mo. At pagdating naman below 15 ppm na siya, bubukas ulit ang three-way valve na yan at doon naman sa tangke magdiretso. Pero kung halimbawa more than 15 ppm ang laman ng mga machine, ang ginapag-usapan nila ito ang salinity ng tubig. So more than 15 ppm, mga 20 ppm, hindi mo maramdaman ang asin yan. Pero maasin na yan. So hindi maganda sa katawan natin kung maglampas sa more than 15. Kaya ang setting doon is 15 ppm lamang. So ulitin ko, pag halimbawa nag more than 15 ppm, the three-way valve going to the engine room bilge will open. And when the salinometer found out that the ppm was reduced to 15, let's say for example bumaba na ng 10 or below, so the solenoid valve, the three-way valve will automatically open and the fresh water will be discharged into the tank. Now, the feed rate of the evaporator is fixed at the feed inlet to the evaporator by the orifice plate throughout the entire process. So if the salt content of the produced water is high, the solenoid valve divert the fresh water to the shield side of the freshwater generator and emit all alarm signal. So the solenoid controlled dump valve divert the flow back to the ship. In case the freshwater salinity exceed the predetermined value, maximum usually is 10 ppm. So this prevents contamination of the mouth of the made water. Excess salinity caused by so many factors including leakage of seawater at condenser or priming of evaporator or malfunctioning of demister or many other reasons. In freshwater generator, what cannot be condensed at the condenser is called incondensable gases such as air, and these gases are continuously ejected out of the air, or it is called as or brine ejector for short. This way, the freshwater generator seal is kept at high vacuum, which is a must to boil water at low temperature. Now, in the tube type freshwater generator, here it is, known as the submerged type or steam coil type. It is sometimes known as the boiling freshwater generator. So the working and principle freshwater type tube generator is the same as plate type freshwater generator. Only difference is instead of plate, condenser and evaporator are tube. So a typical freshwater generator tube type line diagram is given below. Now ganito yan. Ito ang ejector pump. So pag paandaran mo nito, buksan mo itong saksyon ng ejector pump. Pero pag bukas mo, buksan mo rin ito ang overboard valve niya. Para pag sip-sip ng bomba ng seawater, may lalabasan. Pero kung hindi mo mabuksan itong overboard, hindi ka makaproduce ng vacuum mo. Kasi hindi makalabas ang tubig. At napakadelikado pa kung lumampas sa pressure ng bomba mo, masira ang bomba mo. So kailangan, bago ka magpandar ng freshwater generator, pagbukas mo ng suction, buksan mo rin itong overboard valve. Para pag umandar na siya, ito ay ejector. So itong ejector, yan ang mag-produce ngayon ng vacuum. So the water will pass through the ejector and goes overboard. However, because it is connected to the shield, the water will be sucked by the ejector. Thus, it will create vacuum inside the shell of the condenser, of the freshwater evaporator, I mean. So once it is already, the vacuum is already, let's say, for example, 90%. Here in this hole, if you have to pip, you will notice that the water is already boiling inside the condenser. So while it is boiling, while it is boiling, it will goes to the thermistor. Dito, akyat yan dito, tapos dyan matulo. Dyan, yung sabi ko kanina, yung baga sa takip ng kaldero, yung butil-butil niya doon, mahulog yan sa thermistor na yan. At from the thermistor, it will be sucked by the distillate pump. At from distillate pump, it will be discharged to the freshwater tank. So may mga freshwater generator, ang mga ganito kuminsan, sa mga nasampahan ko kuminsan, it could produce, let's say, for example, 30 to 40 tons a day. So kuha niya dahil kami, let's say for example, 18 person lang ang tao sa barko, kaya niya suportahan ang mga pangangailangan ng mga tripulante sa barko at pangangailangan ng makinarya sa barko. So, tandaan ninyo, pag magpaandar kayo ng freshwater generator, ang mga marino, lalo sa mga katumakista o sa mga wheeler, bago ka magpaandar nito, buksan mo muna ang suction valve. Pag bukas mo ng suction valve, buksan mo rin ang overflow valve para makakreate ka ng vacuum. Dahil kung hindi mo mabuksan ang suction valve, hindi ka makakreate ng vacuum sa seal mo. Okay, so we will go to the submerged type freshwater generator, which I explained up there. That the jacket cooling water will be the heating medium. So by evaporating the seawater due to high vacuum, this allows the feed water to evaporate at a comparatively low temperature. Steam can also be used as a source of heat instead of main engine jacket cooling. So if there is no available engine cooling, like for example, if you are using steam turbine, so instead of cooling water nang galing sa main engine mo, dahil walang ang main engine ng barko mo ay turbina, so instead of using cooling water of main engine, you have to use steam. So this type of freshwater generator is based on two-set shell and tube heat exchanger. One act as evaporator or heater, and another act as a condenser. The combined air brine ejector create vacuum condition in the evaporator chamber by driving seawater through the air. Brine ejector and seawater supplied by the ejector pump to be delivered to the ejector for taking out the brine, concentrated seawater, and air. So the temperature of the feed water in the evaporator chamber is about 50 degrees Celsius. So the rate of supply water from the evaporator or to the evaporator is fixed by the orifice fitted at the feed inlet. Due to vacuum condition inside the evaporator, so the feed water evaporator at this temperature, the water spray and the droplet are partly removed from the vapor by the deflector mounted on the top evaporator and partly by the thermistor. So the water droplets, which are separated, fall back into the brine, which is extracted by the water ejector. So the dissolved vapor which passes through the thermistor will come into contact with the condenser, where it will be condensed by incoming cold seawater. So the distilled water is then removed by an integral freshwater pump or distillate pump and controlled by the salinometer and the solenoid valve. So if the salt content of the water generated is high, the solenoid valve transfers the fresh water to the freshwater generator shell side and give an alarm signal. So mag-alarma siya. So once it alarm, so the engineer will go there and check what are the causes why it alarm. So if the vacuum is high, so you have to reduce the, you have, I mean, to increase the vacuum. So some common cause why the vacuum are uh, going down is that there is leakage in the freshwater generator seal. So pag may leak, ang vacuum niya babagsak. So to get the better suction head, the distillate pump is placed in the freshwater generator plant at the lowest possible location. This is because the seal of the freshwater generator is at the lower pressure. So with the height of liquid column in the suction line, the distillate pump gives maximum net positive suction head. Thermometer are installed to control the seawater to the condenser and the cooling water to the evaporator. So this thermometer did the work of the controlling of both heating and cooling of this unit. The salinometer or salinity indicator is connected to the remote alarm so that the ship's engine control room where high very high salinity is immediately registered. So some question is, what are the safety devices fitted in freshwater generator? So the safety device fitted in the freshwater generator are the relief valve, the vacuum gauge, the vent cap, and the thermometer. So those are the safety devices of the freshwater generator because if the pressure is high, the relief valve will open. So the vacuum gauge, once the vacuum is the freshwater generator is stopped, then you have to open that valve so that air will get out and to avoid corrosion. Same as bincock, and the thermometer is used to measure the head that are uh, uh, circulated in the freshwater generator. So what are the fault of the freshwater generator? And what happened when there is fault? So mostly the fault in the freshwater generator reduce the performance of the system and reduce the quality and quantity of freshwater produced in the ship. So this irregularity must be identified and corrected immediately to ensure that the optimum performance of freshwater generator is achieved. So the fault are loss of vacuum or overpressure of the seal. So what reason may be for vacuum losses in the freshwater generator? So the seal pressure of the freshwater generator increases, the rate of freshwater produced decreases. So there are air leakage into the evaporator seal in large quantity and the air ejector cannot cope. So the cooling water flow through the condenser is reduced or cooling water temperature is high. So this causes saturation temperature and hence saturation pressure within the condenser to rise. It will also malfunction of the air ejector, and the flow rate of the heating medium increases and increases the water vapor produced. Since this excess vapor cannot be condensed, so the pressure of the seal increases or the vacuum drop. So now there is an issue of carryover of seawater. So during the operation of the freshwater generator, salt can also be carried over in the large quantity. And this is called priming. The general reason of the priming are the level of the salt water inside the shell is high. So when the level is high, agitation due to a boiling occur, and the salt water may carry over along the vapor. So when there is a high level of water agitation due to boiling, and salt water may carried along with the vapor. Rate of the evaporation will also increase. So the gradual increase in level of brine, a constant level of brine must be maintained in the shell for the satisfactory operation of the freshwater generator. Brine is a concentrated water of the sea, after the release of water vapor. So this brine is gradually extracted from shell. Typically, this is obtained by a combined air brine ejector. If extract air as well as brine from the shell of freshwater generator, any fault with the ejector or brine extraction pump in some model cause the brine level to increase. So now here comes now the increase of salinity for freshwater generator. Why the salinity increases once the freshwater generator or freshwater generator is operational? So the possible causes of increase of salinity are the brine level inside shell is too high. So if the brine level is too high, kumbaga, nag-apaw siya, so doon magkaroon. Parang carry over na rin siya. So leaking condenser tube or the plate. So pag nag-leak ang condenser, mag-carry over din ang salt water. Operation of the evaporator near shield will contaminate with water. So that's why there is a golden rule. You can only operate the freshwater generator at more or less 200 miles to the nearest island or nearest shore. Kasi kung malapit sa shore ka mag-operate, may mga bakterya dyan na magsama doon sa tubig na naghalo doon sa ginproduce mo na freshwater. Baka magkaroon ng problema sa katawan ng tao kung mainom nila. O kahit magpaligo ka man, kung minsan hindi mo maiwasan, mapunta sa labi mo at mapasok sa katawan mo. So next is the shell temperature and pressure is too low. So that will also create increase of the salinity and increase solubility of the CO2 generated from the salt water due to reduced seawater temperature. So this dissolved CO2 make water acidic and conductivity of water increases. The salinometer therefore show increases salinity, which is measured of conductivity and salt presence. So that's why ang mga marino, tinagurian ito na multi-courses. Alam mo kung bakit? Sabi ko bakit nag-multiple course? Dito, napag-aralan natin, kung engineer ka, maaari ka rin matawag kung minsan, ano sila mga chemical engineer. Kasi ginasukat natin kung ano ang content ng salt water doon sa tubig na ginagamit natin sa makina natin, o sa boiler natin, o sa inumin natin. Kasi pag naglampas tumaas ang salinity content ng tubig, dahil bakal ang mga gamit ng boiler at saka makinarias natin, magkaroon siya ng korosyon. So kalawangin ang bakal kung mataas ang salt content ng tubig na ginagamit natin. So freshwater generator performance reduces the scale formation because it causes reduction in heat transfer efficiency. If the freshwater 3 scale are normally found, and they are calcium carbonate. So ito ay mga terminology nito ay mapansin, makita mo na ito sa mga chemical. Magnesium hydroxide and calcium sulfate. Kaya si Engineer Abiso nakapag-create nito dahil napag-aralan niya doon, lalo nang ma-assign siya doon sa Middle East at pinaral siya sa Amerika. Doon niya nakita na magamit nga pala ito. Now, the formation of calcium carbonate and magnesium hydroxide depend mainly on the operating temperature. And the formation of the calcium sulfate depend mainly on the density of the content of the operator or the brine. So the reaction takes place when the seawater is heated. Pero kung hindi man mainit yan, hindi man siya mag-react. So hence, if the seawater is heated to temperature below 80 degrees Celsius in the freshwater generator, the calcium carbonate scale will predominate. The magnesium hydroxide scale is deposited when seawater is heated above 80 degrees centigrade. So if the water content density is greater than 96,000 part per million, the calcium sulfate scale are formed. But brine density of freshwater generator is normally 80,000 ppm and less. Hence, the formation of scale due to calcium sulfate is not a problem. That's why it is recommended that the freshwater generator be operated at the rated capacity, not more. So ano rate lang niya, yun lang. Huwag mo asahan na pasobrahan. So more water production than the rated capacity means high concentration of brine and more formation of the scale. Similarly, higher shell temperature result in the hard scale formation that will be hard to remove. All this together with dramatically reduced efficiency of the plant. Nasabi niya reduce efficiency of the plant dahil kung halimbawa ang tubo ay napuno na ng scale, so instead na makadaan dyan ang tubig na, let's say for example, example lang ito, instead na makadaan ng 1 liter, hindi na siya makadaan kasi may mga scale na doon sa loob. Napansin nyo pagbukas mo sa tubo sa bahay ninyo, na ang doon sa loob niya ay may brown na nakadikit sa tubo. Yan ang tinatawag na corrosion, or kung halimbawa stainless man yan, tinatawag na cavitation. Tulad ng ipin natin. Ang ipin natin hindi nakurod kasi ipin yan. Hindi naman siya bakal. Pero nabubulok siya because of cavity. So cavitation ang tawag doon. So doon sa barko, ganyan din. Kung halimbawa stainless siya o kung ano man yan material na hindi nakalawang, pero hindi nga nakalawang, pero because of cavitation, of cavity, magkaroon siya ng scale. So ang terminology doon, hindi na corrosion, kundi na cavitation. So how to minimize the scale formation? So the formation of scale in a freshwater generator can be controlled by minimizing continuous treatment of chemical. Minimized by continuous treatment of chemicals from a treatment. Marine engineer prepared polysulfate compounds such as a sodium polysulfate with anti-foam, which are commonly used on ships. So this chemical reduces the scale formation of calcium carbonate and possibility of foaming. So the compound is non-toxic and no acidic, and can be used in freshwater generator producing water for drinking purposes. It will be continuously fed via the metering pump or by the gravity of the feed line. So the quantity of chemical to be dosed depend on the capacity of water produced. So the main thing is that this chemical dosage is effective only on the low pressure freshwater generator. So the temperature of the seawater is less than 90 degrees centigrade. In order to maintain the performance of freshwater generator, chemical treatment to be religiously carried out. So what are the causes of low production of freshwater? So the reason of low production are ship draft is less. So ang draft ng barko kung mataas ay makapekto rin sa pag-produce ng fresh water. So the level of brine is too high. The filter before ejector pump is dirty. Faulty ejector pump not developing enough pressure. A faulty ejector nozzle or nozzle choke. Incorrect feed. Scale formation in evaporator. Shell temperature is too high. The scale formation is condensed. Condenser cooling water flow is reduced. Condenser cooling water temperature is too high. Incorrect assembly of plate. Leakage in plant like non-pressure gauge, bent distillate pump cell, etc. Distillate pump is faulty and faulty volumeter or faulty solenoid valve. So restarting of freshwater generator and few important points are to be noted. So we need to check before starting the freshwater generator that the ship is not in congested water or in canal and 20 nautical miles away from shore. This is done because the effluent from the factories and sewage are discharged into the sea near the shore, which can get into the freshwater generator. So check whether the engine run above 50 RPM, which is because the temperature of the jacket water at low RPM is around 60 degrees and is not sufficient for water evaporation. Check that the drain valve is in close position, which is present at the bottom of the generator. Now open the water pump suction and discharge which provide water for the evaporator cooling and to the inductor for vacuum formation. Open the seawater discharge valve through which the water is sent back to the sea after circulating inside the freshwater generator, and close the vacuum valve which is situated on top of the generator. Now we should start the seawater pump and check the pump pressure. In general, the pressure must be 3 to 4 bar. So wait until the vacuum build up. The vacuum should be at least 90%, which can be clearly seen in the generator gauge situated on the freshwater generator. Then time taken for the vacuum generation is usually around 10 minutes. So in 10 minutes time, if the freshwater generator are properly maintained, the 90% could be met within the 10 minutes. And this can be seen in the generator gauge situated in the freshwater generator seal. Pero kung halimbawa ay may mga leak, you cannot 10 minutes is not enough. Kaya may mga engineer ako nung araw, sabi niya, sir, bakit na isang oras na panda ko ng freshwater generator, bakit na ayaw tumaas ang vacuum? Paano tumaas ang vacuum? May maraming leakage. So, yung ginagawa namin dyan, kung minsan nalagyan namin may mga bagay na pangtapal, natapalan niya ang leakage na yan for temporary lang. Pero kung palagi mo lang tapal-tapal, yan sabi ko kung minsan, pag natanggal naman due to vibration, na-vibrate ang mga tubo sa barko, tanggal naman ulit siya. So, yan ang diferensya ng tapal-tapal. Kaya dapat, kung halimbawa ay may problema ang mga packing, kailangan palitan mo para na matanggal ang problema mo. Hindi na puro tapal-tapal lamang. So when the vacuum is achieved, open the valve from the treatment of feed water, and this is designed to prevent the formation of scale within the plate. Now open the inlet and outlet valve of hot water or cooling jacket from an engine, slowly about half. always first open the outlet valve and then the inlet valve. Why it is always mentioned that first you have to open the outlet valve before opening the inlet valve? This is to prevent overheating of the freshwater seal. Kasi kung buksan mo inlet bigla init ang seal mo, at kung minit na bigla ang seal mo, ang vacuum mo babagsak. So that's why, pero kung bukas ang outlet mo, ang init na galing sa makina, dadaan lamang at hindi ma-overheat ang seal. At ito tandaan ninyo, ang laman ng freshwater generator ay may coated din dyan. At nakalagay sa labas, avoid, if possible, do not weld, avoid heating. Kasi pag winilding mo yan, matanggal ang coating doon sa loob at yan, maka-apekto yan doon sa production mo ng freshwater. Instead na mag-produce ka ng 40 tons a day, baka mag-produce ka na lang ng 20 or 25 kasi natanggal na ang coating doon sa loob ng freshwater generator mo. So now we can see that the boiling temperature start to rise and the vacuum start to fall. So the vacuum drop about 85%, which is an indication that the evaporation begins. So open the valve or drain for the pressure from the freshwater generator pump. Freshwater pump, Switch on the salinometer if it has to be started manually, and generally it is an auto start mode. Now start the freshwater pump and test the water comes out of the drain. When the freshwater starts generating, it can be seen in the that the boiling point drops slightly again, and the vacuum goes back to normal value. Check that the water which coming out of the salinometer is not salty, and also check that the reading of the salinometer is normal. So this is done to say whether the salinometer is working properly or not, and to avoid contamination of the entire freshwater with the salt water. Salinometer value are kept below 10 ppm. Then open the valve to the tank for the pump and close the drain valve after testing the taste of the water coming out of the salinometer. So if ever possible, before you open the valve going to the tank from the discharge of the distillate pump, first you have to make sure that the water are not salty. Dahil kung maramdaman mo ang asin, mag-contaminate din doon sa laman ng tangke mo. Now let's go to the freshwater generator stopping. How to stop the freshwater generator. So it is desirable to stop the freshwater generator as the ship approaches the port or shallow water, etc. This is because the seawater may contain harmful bacteria that can enter into the produced freshwater. The operation of the freshwater should be carried out in consultation with the bridge watchkeeper. So following the procedure to stop the freshwater generator can be adopted. Now, before we discuss that, so the chief engineer, ang mga engineer, nag-coordinate yan sa deck officer. Ano, malayo ka ba tayo? Ano ang arrival natin? So, let's say for example, sorry, may 1 hour notice. Sabi niya siguro mga, let's say for example lang ito mga 12 o'clock siguro magbigay tayo 1 hour notice. So if that is the information coming from the bridge, from the deck, so if the approximate time of arrival is 12 o'clock, or 1 hour notice is 12 o'clock, so meaning at 10 o'clock, you have to stop the freshwater generator because you are now approaching to the shallow water, or you are approaching to water which might be contaminated by some bacteria, which is not good to mix into the freshwater tank of the ship. So stopping the freshwater generator, you have to open the bypass valve. slowly for main engine jacket cooling water. So sa bypass valve na yan, so balik-balik na lang tubig doon, hindi na papasok doon sa freshwater generator seal. Ensure that the cooling water temperature of the main engine jacket is within the normal limit. Close the inlet-outlet valve of the jacket cooling water for the freshwater generator respectively. Then close the feed water chemical dosing valve. Stop the distillate pump. Shut down the discharge valve. Switch off the salinometer. Then close the filling valve of the freshwater tank. Wait for the temperature of the evaporator seal to drop below 50 degrees centigrade and close the evaporator feed water valve. Stop the ejector, shut down the overboard valve and the suction valve, then open the vacuum breaker valve so that the side pressure of the seal is equal to the atmospheric pressure. And by doing that, that is, you are avoiding corrosion inside the seal. Then open the evaporator drain valve to drain all salt water from the freshwater generator. Now, precaution for operating the freshwater. So the pressure of the seawater at the inlet of the air ejector must be 3 bar or more. So the ejector outlet pressure should not exceed 0.8 bar or less than 1 bar. So the distillate pump of freshwater generator never start in dry condition. To prevent the normal shock of the main engine, operate the jacket cooling water valve slowly to the freshwater generator and feed water to be supplied to cool down the evaporator for a few minutes before stopping. Never open the evaporator drain valve before the vacuum is open. So that is enough for the operation of the freshwater generator. And for those of you who are following this episode, Bantay ng Marino at Mamamayang Pilipino, ito ang tandaan ninyo, this is not only for the seafarers per se or seafarer itself, but it also include all citizens of the Philippines. As I mentioned earlier, kung magaling tayo sana magawa, dahil magaling ang mga Pilipino gumawa ng mag-operate ng freshwater generator, kung dito sa atin ay makagawa tayo ng freshwater generator sa mga karagatan natin, so hindi natin problema ang tubig. Kaysa sirain natin ang environment na sa ating kapaligiran just to produce water. At pangalawa, mapansin niyo ngayon sa ating mga tubig na pag nag-ipon ka ng tubig, mapansin mo may mga latak. Dahil ang mga bundok natin ay nag-landslide. So, kuminsan ang mga lupa sumasama sa bumba. Kaya mapansin niyo pag nag-ipon kayo ng tubig, may latak ang tubig natin, kaya hindi maganda. Pero kung halimbawa gawin natin itong freshwater generator, doon tayo kukuha. Ang supply ng freshwater ng tubig natin, napaka ganda at swabe lamang. Hindi tayo sabi na magkakagulo-gulo dahil mahal ang singil sa tubig. Kagaya ngayon, pag hindi ka nakabayad ng nawasan mo, maputulan ka. Dahil hawak ng mga oligarko ang public utilities natin. Pero kung halimbawa ang gobyerno natin ay may effort para mapaganda ang sitwasyon ng mga mamayang Pilipino by using freshwater generator or by establishing or producing or what we call this promoting the production of from freshwater generator, then ang product na freshwater ay angat sa taas. Pagbagsak niya, bagsak naman sa impeller ng generator. Ang generator natin, ang kurente natin ay wala na sana tayong babayaran. Kung may babayaran man, kapiranggot lang. So yan ang aking recommendation sa Malacanang na sana maisipan ng mga tao yan, mga politiko natin para ang ating mga mamamayan ay hindi mahirapan sa tubig at kuryente. Dahil yan nga, gaya ngayon sa panahon ng pandemya, sabi nila maghugas ka ng kamay. Paano maghugas ang mga tao ng kamay ay walang tubig? So sa ngayon, okay lang yan, tag-ulan. Pero pag oras na magtag-init naman ito ngayon sa mga buwan ng Pebrero, Marso, Abril, doon maging problema tayo. Pero kung mayroon tayong freshwater generator na pinagkukunan, other than the tubig sa dam, hindi tayo maghirap. So that is for today. That is all for today. And I do hope nakakatulong yan sa inyong kaalaman ang banggit ko at kung sakali man sa mga marine engineer dyan na may mga katanungan, pwede nyo i-message ako doon sa aking messenger kung ano man ang inyong katanungan. Pero yan na palaalala sa inyo na karamihan ng mga interview dyan, kung fourth engineer ka o third engineer, sabihin ng mga interviewer sa iyo, okay, can you tell us or can you tell me the correct procedure of starting freshwater generator? So pag maganda ang pag-explain mo, so madali ka matanggap. Pero kung halimbawa, nag-explain ka pa lang, tinanong ka what is the proper and correct procedure, ang simula mo ay reduce the vacuum, ay mali, hindi na proper yon. Because ang proper doon, first you have to start the ejector pump. So bago ka mag-start naman, sabi niya, first time to start ejector pump. So, hindi mo pa nabuksan ang suction valve mo, pinandar mo na, so saan kukuha ng tubig yan? That's why sa akin ay bilang tulong ito, hindi naman ako mayabang na magaling ako sa inyo, pero that is only a mere guide. So kung napakinggan ninyo mabuti, sa sunod may mga matutunan din kayo. So kung halimbawa medyo may kakulangan ang nabanggit ko, by applying more research, pwede pa gumanda ang inyong kaalaman tungkol dyan. So as I said earlier, so it's enough for today and good night everyone.